the Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.
The East is where we're from.
Blessings, blessings.
The 12 tribes of Israel.
Come on in.
In 721 BC, the Assyrian king, he took us down, we fell. With a great escape, we went through the Euphrates. The Lord held the water still. To a land where no mankind dwelt, we went. The 12 tribes of Israel.
Blessings.
We be Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, and Valley from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Zebulun from Panama, yeah, the North American Indians, Simeon, the Dominican.
Come on.
The highest gathering Israel. The Arabs and Africans told us.
Good point.
Together our wives and children
Blessings,
sold
blessings,
us.
blessings.
In the belly of these great ships we traveled in fear. By the rivers of Babylon we found our brothers here. A high gatherer in Colombia. Reuben from Australia. Issachar, the Mexicans. A high gathering.
Blessings, blessings, brothers and sisters. I'm Elder Rawchaa, the Gathering of Christ Church, here with our weekly broadcast. Sorry I'm a little late. But I had to make sure that I had this particular broadcast outlined. I also wanted to make sure Elder Lawya's communication as far as his audio and video was correct. I'll do it earlier going forward. But tonight, we have a special guest in the house also. Not only do we have Elder Lawya on standby. Okay, let me see what layer that is. Right there. Not only do we have Elder Lawya there, we also have Elder Rawchaa right there. Yeah, this is a special broadcast this evening. We have the elders on cue, and we also will allow all the elders, deacons, and bishops to come in who would like to come in as we unpack another week in Babylon as far as showing forth prophecy and at the same time exposing the lies of Babylon. Shalom, shalom, shalom. If you've never followed this page before, stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this particular broadcast. And we believe, this will be the first of many broadcast you'll actually view from this channel, A Gathering 144. Okay? Yeah, we have Elder Rawchaa from across the pond. And yes, we will be there for first fruits. All right? We will be across the pond, first fruits. Also, okay? And I'm going to allow everyone chime in because we have a lot to talk about. Okay, make sure if you come in, you stay on mute. Please, please, please help me. We have a lot to talk about this broadcast. Before I go in, I'd like to thank all my loyal Academites out there for being loyal Academy members. We're going into week 8. Theme, that's right. The War of the Gods. The War of the Gods is the theme, and we are exposing the spirits behind the heathen, the heathenistic pagan religions that they're utilizing to subjugate and or destroy God's people. We are exposing the spirits, the gods the Gentiles worship under the guise of religion. We just totally destroyed. Well, I wouldn't say destroyed, but we actually brought to light many things brothers and sisters didn't know about Islam. Its origin religion. Even the black rock that's in Mecca. What's that about? We exposed it all, and it's about snatching souls and keeping the children of Israel under subjection. Next week, we'll be going into, that's right, the lost books. We're going to focus this week on what? The Testament of Solomon, to go into the spirits that help build those great constructs that man don't have the technology to build today. We're going to go into that. The spirits that eventually overtook Solomon that led to the split of Israel. The Testament of Solomon, the Apocalypse of Paul, and we're going to also give you some insight on the lost books concerning the underworld, hell, this coming Sunday. You need to be there. Now, from now on, we're going to have these particular weekly broadcasts as we come into eventually doing our podcast live from the studio. Okay? And again, if you would like to be a part of the Academy, go to historytimes.org to enroll. It's nothing like it on the earth. News, Hebrew, and scripture breakdowns. Studies put together for you like none other anywhere on earth when it comes to breaking down the true doctrine the Most High intended all of us to understand, Israelites as well as Gentiles. Now, from now on, since we will be going into podcasts very soon, side by side, we have a studio podcast we're going to be dealing with this coming summer, spring going into the summer. I'm going to start formatting this so that we're not all over the place, right? We're going to be dealing with, for the first 30 minutes, national news and prophecy when it comes to insights and conversation. For the first 30 minutes, it will be national within the United States. And then the next 30 minutes going forward, every Wednesday, international insights as well as prophecy, so that we can understand what's going on in Babylon and on the outside of Babylon. Okay? You good there, Lawya? You get it together there? All right, all right. Yeah, I see you twisting things all around there. You're looking good. You're looking good, young man. We got Bishop Lawya in the house also. So we're going to jump right into it. Can we make changes in this strange world? First 30 minutes, we're going to be dealing with internally. Then we're going to be dealing with what? Externally. And I'm going to ask all of your perspectives, and even you out there that are listening, you can put your comments, anything you would like to say on any subject we partake in. First and foremost, Can we make changes in this strange world? Now, why am I asking this question? It seems as if there's any injustices when it comes to civil rights or whatever the case is, especially here in America, but all over the world, people usually protest when government or there's a societal scenario that imposes on a country's or a people's will and or morality. Right? When the government is dealing with something immoral or destructive towards its citizens, there's a protest. There's a rally. The injustice that we experience here in America, we had many protests, revolutions that they won't even allow in history books. Nat Turner was just one of many. Folks, don't ever believe that some white liberals came together and voluntarily had a conscience and came together kumbaya and said, you know what? I think we should free the Negroes. Don't ever buy that narrative. Anything we've ever received, we have fought for. You know why they emancipated? Because they had to. The old system could no longer hold us or control us. Okay, let's make this clear. They never freed anyone. I don't care what they put on paper. All right? All changes usually come from a what? A grassroots resistance. Well, that leads me here, dealing in the first 30 minutes for this topic, can we change? Can we make changes in this strange world? Because I'm starting to really question the morality and or values we hold to be true. And I'm speaking of those who claim to believe in the Bible. What's going on? A lot of you are asking, Elder Rawchaa, where are you going? We're dealing internal, Babylon first, right? Usually the population protests when there's a social indecency or injustice imposed on the weak. Okay? That's really indicative of a moral society. When the weak is being imposed upon or destroyed, the strong stands up to defend. Right? Now, with that in mind, I need y'all to check this out, folks. And then I have a question. What do we have here before you? What do we have before you? Let me pull it up here. Right here. What do we have before you? What you see before you is someone who was born a biological man. A school teacher within the inner city. It's so out there now that we have trans teachers doing what? Story time. Now, if you want to know where we're going with this, don't worry. Stay with us. Stay with us. Don't forget the frame of reference. Usually when the weak is being opposed upon, the strong stands up together in protest to make a change. Right? Here's a trans teacher doing story time. Fair use for educational purposes only and for religious purposes. Because I don't know what it is. Do we have a right to resist immorality as believers anymore? When you say something against Jews, they have a term for that, anti-Semitic. when you say something concerning the fact that your core belief does not accept sexual immorality, which is homosexuality, right? They can deem that being homophobic. But what term is it for trampling on the rights and the morality of those who believe in the Bible? What term did they make to protect us? And mind you, folks, we're the majority. So what does that say? When we let the vast minority who are against our values overtake us and get in a position to teach our children. Oh yeah, I told you, we're going to unpack some stuff today. 30 minutes in the United States, and then we're 30 minutes abroad. Let's go. Fair use. Hold up, let me put it here, because I want to make sure the leaders that are on here hear it also.
I'm telling him, like, yo, you was going for like 30 minutes.
Now, let me frame this for you. He was born a man, but now he identifies himself as a woman. There's scriptures on that. Now, mind you, this person is probably a Christian too, so I don't. Now, he, or if he identify as she, whatever they wanted to identify themselves as or whatever, got fired in a school because a young man, a young black boy, called this biological man who identifies as a woman a man, which led to conflict. Let's go.
Where was you at? You said that you were supposed to go here to get something. Then you're like, oh, they don't got it. But you was going for like 30 minutes, right? Talking to him, another one that I don't really have, he chimes in. And he like, what he said or something like that. And the other one picked up on it, was like, he, she, you mean she? Like, they was trying like, and I said, either or, don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, neither one of y'all will play in my face like that, right?
Okay, we got.
So the one started going.
We got to watch the language. It's a family show. We believe in God and Christ. I didn't know that whatever was going to say this, but obviously, this person, let me put it that way, overheard the children talking about whatever he identifies as, and one said what he or she, because they don't know how to identify with this teacher. So the teacher overheard it and got irate, got totally offended that one of his or her students misgendered it. Right? So obviously the emotions of this particular person is valued more than the rest of the population, obviously. Right? What these kids feel is unconsequential. That's right? It's all about what's going on here. Let's go.
Going off or whatever. And he just kept like picking on the other one. And I was like, as I was like talking to him, I'm just like, either or, like, you know, da-da-da, like, I don't even play those games, so it's like, you wouldn't even dare, neither one of y'all would dare disrespect me like that. The other one kept going on. As like, negging him on, I'm just like, stop nitpicking with him. Like,
now, mind you, these are the people that they deem are qualified to teach our children in the inner city now. Now, guess what? Anyone have the right to free enterprise or to work wherever they would like. So I don't have nothing against this person who applied it for a teacher. Right? My issue is more so with the community. That's my issue. Have we fallen to such depths that there's no standard for those we entrust to be around our children more than us while we're at work or wherever? Have we fallen to such depths? Because don't forget, folks, the teachers are indicative and represents the community. Academia means everything when it comes to excellence. Outside of your core beliefs, whether or not you believe in God. What we're telling, this is a teaching moment in of itself, because when someone walk in a class, your child is going to believe it's okay. Regardless of what the parents are teaching at home, to deal with a different value system outside of God, outside of the Bible. But I digress. I'm going to let it go now because I need you all to hear this.
Stop nitpicking with him.
Fair use.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. Somebody was coming to the door. So, I'm telling the little boy, I'm like, yo, chill out, right? Chill out. Like, you keep coming at him, and I'm the adult. Like, you don't have to say nothing to him. And obviously, he's getting irritated with you saying something to him. Girl, because I got to put my shit on because they done sent me home for the day. I'm like, you need to chill out or whatever have you. And so the little boy like, who you talking to?
Okay, the teacher got sent home. Now years ago we told people eventually it's going to be a physical war in our communities if this is allowed. Right? And guess what? This was stoked and provoked and instigated by the Demonuts. They knew they're seeking a provocation. They're trying to have our people rise up once and for all so they can bring in the troops. So they're pushing us to a degree where what? We'll have no recourse but to respond. Can you not see this? The white children who have better schools in the rural areas don't have to deal with this.
I was like, I'm talking to you. Like, it was just crazy energy. Like, who you talking to? Bitch.
Hold up, excuse me.
This little boy turned...
Excuse me. This is our school teachers, folks. Got sent home, got fired. Now, I got 30 minutes. I'm framing this because I really don't want to focus on what's going on here. The question is, can we make changes in this strange world? That's the question. That's the topic for this evening. Now, let's look at the numbers because I'm coming to a conclusion here. Follow me. Stick with me, folks, and please hit the like button. Right? Please hit the like button. I'm coming to a consensus here. Listen to this. Now we know this behavior that we all just witnessed is against the moral codes within the Bible. Look at your screen. And this is an overview here. Look at your screen. What are we looking at here? This is the data as of 2023 to 2024. 62% of the United States adult population who are Christians, 62% identify as Christians in the United States. So what we're talking about, 300 million people in the United States, right? Over 150 million identify as Christians. Now, let's move it down to a smaller demographic where we are being affected. Blacks, Judah in America. This data haven't been updated, but this data is of 2022. We're going to go from those numbers, right? Religion plays an important role in the lives of Black Americans. You can find a lot of this on peer research here. According to PRRI data, more than 7 in 10 Black Americans, 71% are Christians. Let's talk about it. 71% of blacks. Break down to us, which are the descendants here who came off slave ships. If you were to number us, it's about 40 to 43 million people. 70%. So over 25 to 30 million. About 25 to 30 million of us identify as those who believe in the Bible and or Christ. Right? Let's look at that number for a second. So if that's the case, if we have over 20 some odd million, let's give it a modest number, 25 some odd million, that let's say half of the 43 million who believe in Christ. What messages are we sending when the majority of the population, the majority of our population won't push back at this? On top of that, even before that, for this to have ever been allowed in a predominantly Christian community says volumes. How do you destroy people? You get to their children. What we have allowed as believers in Christ is much worse than what any KK member could have done. So, and don't tell me there's nothing we cannot do. Going back to my original premise. Last week, all over the United States on April 5th, you had a bunch of white liberals, nut jobs, come together for a common cause. Black Lives Matter with George Floyd, they was able to trigger our people to get up into that garbage and protest and do all types of things in the midst of right before an election based on what? The injustices that was being pressed upon us from government, right? Folks, now we must examine this from those who are viewing us from the outside. They think we crazy. We can protest over George Floyd. We can protest over Donald Trump. But it's silent when this is allowed to go on amongst our children. Claiming to be what? We are supposed to be the moral barometer for the United States, if not the world. So my question is, if this activity don't align with our morality, why isn't there any resistance? Solution. Can we change it? Immediately, when DEI or anything that pushes up against our core beliefs, and I'm talking about those who believe in the Bible, if that began to show up in our schools, everyone was supposed to shut the school down and show forth curricula as well as any information that would lean or line towards our moral foundation. Which means the teachers were supposed to get together, the parents were supposed to get together, the whole community was supposed to get together to dictate who could teach our children and what can be taught to them. And don't tell me we can't do that when every time there's a protest or something, we're out there acting as if we're being trampled upon while our children are being coaxed into demonic perversions throughout the earth while the whole world witness it. Okay, I'm going to tell you, no other race of people would have allowed this to happen. You go over the Middle East and try to teach their children something outside of the morality that's actually upheld with Islam in their country. Try it. Try it. Immediately, it was supposed to gotten shut down. Teachers were supposed to have gotten fired immediately. The administration got kicked out of there immediately. And only people who align with our morality being what? Being you're talking about 20-something million black Christians in the United States. If they don't align with your moral, with your moral codes that are taught throughout the Bible, they cannot have access to your children. That means, folks, how many of you, stick with me, how many of you would allow this person to babysit your children? So they did an end around, folks. They're showing the hypocrisy that's within our people, that's within the so-called tribe of Judah, the Israelites, the Christians who claim to believe in God. They're showing our hypocrisy. If you truly believe in God and Christ, this would have never been allowed. Now, or it can be the other thing. Or it could be something else. You know what it could be? Maybe this is indicative of what we've become. That's the harsh reality that's unspoken. I'm trying to lean towards the other way because I really don't want to accept what could be true. Maybe this is a reflection of what we've become. Is it? Is this when we allow these people to teach our children who doesn't align with our values and our core beliefs? Is it because we're not resisting it because this is what we've become? Elder Lawya, I'm going to go around the round table with the leaders, and I need that answered real quick.
Yes, sir. So yeah, I think that last point actually hit the nail on the head. Like, is this a reflection of what we've actually become? You know, going back to the statement you made earlier, along with the information you showed, it showed that 71% of black people identify as Christian. But the question is, what does that even mean anymore? What does it mean to be a Christian? Is it because you show up to church on a Sunday? Is it because you pay tithes? Is it because you celebrate Christmas? Is it because you celebrate Easter? What makes you a Christian? It's because you wear a cross around your neck? What makes you a Christian? Now, we know what the Bible says concerning Christians. We know that the Bible says in Acts the 14th chapter, that the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. And we know that the disciples were Jews who specifically believed in the teachings of Christ. Now, when we go to the teachings of Christ, it makes it clear, Christ even taught that God in the beginning made male and female. There was no in between. There was no gray area or middle ground when it came to gender for Christ and those who follow Christ, or those who identified as the original Christians. So that's the first thing. What does that even mean in this current time to be a Christian? And if that's not clear, then we can almost only assume that the value system is not clear. Like, can this person who just popped up in this school to teach story time and I'm not even sure if it identified how old the children were in the video, or if there's any literature out there that states, or any articles that state the age of these children. But could this person who went to these children to read story time, this person who themselves is confused, this person who themselves is supposed to be an example to children? I remember a time in which teachers served as somewhat as an example, or they were indicative of what children were to become, or the values that children were to one day represent. But how can this confused person come before children, teaching children, right? And even the children have enough sense to identify the fact that this person is confused. Can this same person walk into a Christian church and become a part of the choir? Can this same person go into a Christian church and become a part of the praise team or the dance team, or be allowed to sit on the front row of a church because they pay tithes? So when we say that, 71% of us are Christians, then we got to figure out exactly what that means and what the value system is when it comes to these Christians, or these people that identify as Christian. Because obviously, this person here, and I'm not going to say obviously, we can only assume that this person, this confused person, identifies as a Christian. And probably the changes that we see in this person spawned from them operating within a church in which they were probably touched by someone who identifies as a Christian. That's a possibility as well. So we got to figure, there's a lot of questions we have to ask to get to the root of what this is and how this could become possible amongst the population of people who largely and predominantly identify as Christian. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm glad you went there. And I'm going to bring the other elders in a minute. Great points. What is a Christian anymore? Now, on another level, if there's a Satanist or people who don't believe in Christ who are against Christians, God in position to push legislation that would actually show forth our true hypocrisy. Just say if there's a religion that hates Christ, but they're in political position to dictate policy as well as frame the educational system, right? Like, for instance, I know that if there's a Hasidic community, right, a Jewish community, I don't care what I believe in, I can't go inside a Jewish community and teach the tenets and the necessity for believing in Christ. There's not even an avenue for me to do that, or teach anything that will be contrary to the Jewish community. So we have to examine who's shaping the educational system that's fed to us. Could these people be anti-Christ? Could they be intentionally inflicting immorality to taint our children who would one day become Christians and oppose their children in the future? All these dynamics need to be examined. See, when I be thinking far out. I'll be looking at every little nuance to try to. That's the only way we can come to some solutions here. to reconcile this. Obviously, there's Satanists that have a concentrated effort on what? Demoralizing our children. And somehow they've snuck into the educational system. And the disheartening part about this, we as parents, as adults, allowed it without resistance. You can't go into a white rural area and teach anything contrary to that community, but they can all come into the inner city to negatively affect our children by shaping an educational system that they know leads to straight destitution, criminality, evil, and immorality. And guess what? If you can destroy a people like that, you don't need bombs. You don't need the KKK. You don't need racists coming against them. Anything, if you can get access to their children and flip their children's mind upside down.
Right.
So we're going to come with some solution questions in a moment. But Shapat, you there? We'll bring you in, Shapat.
Yep, I'm here.
Good to see you, young man. Thanks for staying up late. I know it's late where you are right now. Thanks for sharing with us, because we're going to be dealing on the international side with you in a moment when it comes to what's going on in Africa.
Yeah, it's giving me flashbacks of the original Skype lessons, and then when you was in the UK, the Peace FM, the late night burning the midnight oil. It's all good.
We are about to dive in with what's going on in Africa. They're throwing stones, but we got to talk about that in a moment. One moment. Yeah. Hit the like button, because we're going international after this.
Right, but I wanted to just add a few bits, like what Elder Lawya just mentioned about the fact that, listen, the Bible is clear. The Most High made male and female, right? And then you have Romans 9:20. Nay, but, O man, who art thou that repliest against the Most High? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, what hast thou, or why hast thou made me thus? Basically trying to change what you were made. We all know we can't do that. But unfortunately, this world is where it is, and that's a great question that you pose. What is a Christian? Someone even suggested, which is a great idea, to do a documentary, kind of like they did with What is a Woman with Matt Walsh. But what is a Christian?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Great idea.
That would be great. But one last thing I do want to say on this thing that is prevalent in society, and of course for all you academites, you would know with Sodom Watch that so much stuff gets uncovered and uncensored. Unfortunately, we have to be careful on this platform. But what I will say as well, to add to this, Romans 2:1, because it speaks to the double speak that they have. They always talk and promote and champion inclusion, right? But like you're touching on, where's our acceptance or inclusion, right? So Romans 2:1. Therefore thou art.
Okay, let me pull it up. Let me pull it up so brothers and sisters can see it. The word of the Almighty. One moment.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
They claim, or better yet, they feign, they hide behind the point of inclusion, because who doesn't want to get behind inclusion, right? So they call and hide behind that when they themselves are not accepting of others. Romans 2:1, therefore thou art inexcusable, O man, whosoever thou art that judgest. So the individual that you had on the video, man or woman, whatever that individual.
We know he's male. Let's put it that way. The Most High says male and female. Doesn't matter
Right.
what he identifies as. He
Right.
is male.
Right. And that's what I'm using the scripture for, because he will have an issue, or others defending, his argument point will have issues with not accepting the way he wants others to view him. But, hypocrite, why can't you accept the way others see you? Romans 2:1, I read it. Wherefore thou art inexcusable, O man, whosoever thou art that judgest, whatever comes after a colon gives you greater explanation. For wherein thou judgest another, or how you judge someone, how you examine or weigh a measure, the Bible repeatedly the Most High despises unequal balances, or applying different balances for different things. You have one way of balancing or measuring something, and you apply it across the board, right? For wherein thou judgest another, thou condemnest thyself. For thou that judgest dost the same things. In their same breath, talking about inclusion, they are themselves excluding the way we would view them and say, hey, and even children, you can't hide nothing from children. It's like, this is a dude, you're a dude. Why can't you accept the way I see you, because you're claiming I'm supposed to accept the way you would want me to accept. So why can't you accept the way I would want to accept you?
Yeah, it's like one way,
confusing.
right?
Yeah, right.
Well, the whole thing is confusing, isn't it? Think about it, right? Their argument is, well, you're hurting my feelings. You're not considerate. You're not considering how I feel.
Right.
Sir, you're not considering how we feel, and we're the majority. Now, this is where it gets good. I asked Elder Lawya to get a scripture for me earlier, and hold tight, because I'm going to bring in Elder Rawchaa. Thank you, Shapat. I'm going to bring you back in a moment. Great points. Now, this is where the judgment of God comes in. Because regardless of my beliefs and how I feel about any activity, or a person may feel about his gender or whatever that is, at the end of the day, the word of God stands. Right? So this is how God feels. All right? Now we believe the Bible is the word of God. This is God's expression. So this is how God feels, right? Let's read this. Elder Lawya, get Leviticus 20 for me real quick. If a man lie down with mankind as he lied with a woman. Let's get that.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to show you where the judgment falls on us. The people who aren't included in the behavior. Because we think just because we're on the outside of what's going on, there's not a judgment on us for allowing it.
Right.
We think the judgment only falls on the person who's doing the sin. But no, I'm going to show you where we're culpable under the eyes of God. Because that person we seen amongst our children, he only got there because we have allowed it. See? That's how we got there. They shamed, and they shamed us into total silence, if not complicity. Feigning victim, as they were getting closer and closer to our children. Oh, don't say anything about me. Oh, I've been a victim. Oh, I've been a victim all my life. Oh, don't use homophobia. And while they sit there shaming us in a corner, getting closer and closer to our children. This is how God feels. Let's get Leviticus real quick, Elder Lawya. Let me grab it here. Leviticus 20. Let's read it.
Yes, sir.
20 and
Leviticus.
Hold up, 20 and 13. Read it.
Yes, sir. Leviticus 20 and 13.
Read.
if a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination.
There's no such thing as this gender thing they're putting out there to muddy the waters. It's male, female, period. That's all the Most High sees. That's all he created. And the Most High is not going to morph his idea of his creation based on an individual's personal idea of themselves. Okay? If a man, this is how God feels. If a man also lie with mankind as he lieth with a woman, that means if a man sleep with another man the way God intended for him to sleep with a woman to bring forth children, read.
Both of them have committed an abomination.
The giver and the taker, they both have sinned. And y'all need to pull up that Terrence Howard thing he said the other day. I mean, you couldn't quantify it better than that. When he talk about when someone take your manhood, you can't get that back.
Mm-hmm.
There's no getting that back. You need therapy, he said. Right? Both of them have committed an abomination. And according to God, to show you the mercy that the Most High had on these people, these unrepentant sinners, they what?
They shall surely be put to death.
Now, why was the judgment so punitive in the Old Testament concerning that activity? Because what they were doing, if you do this to another person, especially a child, is tantamount to death. Why? Because that son or daughter, that male or female, will live an entirely different life than he or she would have untouched. So it's like you kill the child and another person is born. That's why the Most High was so punitive in judgment with this. That's why he said death, because in actuality, when you take the purity from a child, when you turn a child out and turn them perverse, you have killed what God would have had them become. It's equal to death. Now, it's not the boy that would have grew into a warrior. It's a confused soul who more so identifies with the feminine. An entirely different creation outside of what God intended. That's why the penalty was so punitive. Now, let's talk about it. Right? Where do we come in at? Leviticus 5. Let's read it, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Leviticus chapter 5, verse number 1.
Read.
And if a soul sin and hear the voice of swearing and is a witness.
That means we're witnessing the sin. We know how those boys got like that. We know how the girls got like that. Back when we were growing up, we see something, a different nature outside of the father and mother. Automatically the antennas went up and we would start investigating where was our children at this time or that time and who was watching them. Everybody want to play dumb. As long as there's a built-in excuse the government or the system can get you to parrot, it's enough to feign ignorance. Oh yeah, well, I was born this way. As long as they can give you a line to utilize instead of investigating, it's all good. But it tell you, if a soul if a soul sin and hear the voice of swearing and is a witness, if we are a witness to what's going on, Christians and those who believe in Torah and God, let's go back. If we are a witness to what you're seeing on your screen right now,
Whether he have
read it.
whether he have seen or known of it,
Whether he have seen or known of it,
if he do not utter it, then he shall bear his iniquity.
and it says, if you see a soul that sin and hear the voice of swearing and you witness it, whether he have seen it or known of it, if he do not utter it, that means if you don't stand up and do something about it so that other children aren't predatorized upon, other children aren't exposed, aren't turned to the other side, then he shall bear his iniquity. That means the death isn't just on that person who's doing a sin to death. The death is on the whole community. The death falls on the whole community that would have been just the sin of two people. And what you're witnessing, I'm telling y'all what we're witnessing right here, brothers and sisters. We are witnessing the judgment of God. And if you think God is only going to look at this particular guy right here and not hold everyone guilty, you got another thing coming. They're playing in our faces. They're showing you the men they have turned, and they have destroyed the warrior class who was born to protect us in the last days. And we're sitting back, and the only thing we can get incinerated about and stand up against is if something is going on with our Section 8 food stamps, whether or not it's something with family court, or whether or not someone's racist. Misplaced priority. And if you think God is not, the Most High ain't looking down on this and saying, who, it's in your face what you're not protected. How many of your boys are going to be raised by these women with the men somewhere else? You can march. You have something to say on everything else. You can march. You can go in the street. You can protest. And we see this going on in our community, and we see people care more about abortion than what's going on with our boys. So it comes down to, Elder Rawchaa, you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here. Shalom, Elder.
Shalom, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right, man. Listening to this powerful show and all the great points that the elders are making about this state of confusion that we're in. I believe that, that the world is in agreement. No one is standing, because like Elder Lawya said, there's no real definition of what a Christian is. And I think this is old Lucifer's playbook. He plays the victim. This thing of identifying with pronouns reminds me of when it said legion, we are many, we are many. And so it's like the gray area and the confusion. The world have agreed with that. Everyone's politically correct. This is what the world agrees on. So there's nothing concrete for them to stand on, for them to fight, for anything. And if you can't identify something, nothing can be healed. Like if they will never let us identify of us being the Jews. So it's always this thing of you can't pinpoint anything. So you never can get the boogeyman behind the curtain. So it's like a black man, like for instance, Christ said the greatest love is when a person puts his life on the line. We're supposed to be able to help the innocent in judgment and stand for it. But if we can't do it for our own children, man, as a nation, we're done. But we're divided, and everyone is actually agreeing. Like when I'm seeing comments on social media with homosexuality for our men, I'm seeing a lot of our people as if this is normal. I'm looking at black men and black women, and even if people do agree, I think people have become they have just accepted it, instead of us standing and showing that we believe in Christ. When Christ said, listen, a tree, you should know a tree by its fruit. And like Elder Lawya said, listen, if we are truly 70, I think it was 70-some% Christian, 71%, if we're truly that, our actions should show forth with that. Because Christ, he laid down his life for his brethren, let alone for the children. You know what I mean? So, that's just how I'm looking at it. I just feel like everyone has an agreement with confusion, the stupor that's in the world, and you can't lay your hand on anything concrete. It's almost like anti-Semitism when it comes to this thing of identifying as the pronouns. It's just really crazy.
Well, let's deal with it from a solution point of view, real quick.
Yes, sir.
Because, like I mentioned earlier, people tend to come together in number, like we just seen a protest of hundreds of thousands of people last week against Trump. These white liberals. Let me tell you, they protest. They come together against things they believe in.
Right.
Right? They come together. Black Lives Matter. People all over the place acting a fool. Right? People coming out, oh man, no justice, no peace. So you can come together for causes you believe in. I say, and guess what? That's why I don't care. Listen, let Donald Trump dismantle the educational system. He's doing what we've been trying to do for decades. Yeah. It's been the educational system leading us to prison. Not paying attention to the young boys, allowing the young girls to become promiscuous, giving out condoms and stuff in our schools, teaching contrary to the morality, which is they knew we went to church, and they said, you know what? You can go to church on Sunday, but we'll let these satanic, liberal, white, crazy freaks have access to your children 8 hours a day.
You know what's funny, Elder? Not to interrupt you. You're very right. I was reading a book called Weapons on Mass Destructions of how the schools were started and why they were started in Germany, things like that. But it's crazy that you say that, because the Amish, I got a book right here called The Amish Ways, but they are far more educated. Even though our people have loads of information, we don't have something like a tool that's concrete that we can use. So if everything fail, we all we know is the information we can't utilize and not use. With the Amish, they know how to slaughter cows, basically overall do homesteading and things like this. And it's like, at the end of the day, we go to these schools, and there's nothing wrong with getting an education if your parents are coaching you and how to actually go and to be able to utilize it. But at the end of the day, I've noticed when a lot of black people, we're still having a talk on how are we going to get money, even after we went to school and college and did all of these things. So what is these schools actually for? Like you said, let Donald Trump do what he's doing. Maybe the Most High is helping us with these things. Maybe he's helping us by saying, I'm not giving you any more snacks when it comes to the food stamps. That's going to get our people healthier. It's forcing us to be able to be who we're supposed to be, you know what I mean, and stand with each other.
Well, let me tell you this. They can dismantle the colleges too, and all the debt and all that garbage that comes with it. Because your education is supposed to transfer into your community. Dr. Martin Luther King. Now that's a degree that had value.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You can say what you want about whether or not it ended up, how they infiltrated him and all that, end up stabbing him in the back. But we all understood education was a way in which we can actually embolden and also strengthen our community. That's what education was supposed to be for. And we got a lot of people running around with these useless degrees. What good is your degree and you can't even walk in your own community? All these know what you are? You're book smart and society dumb, spiritually dumb. So what? You got a degree in sociology and and a degree in social grammar and all this other garbage that doesn't translate to the real world.
Elder, let me tell you, the people, when I go to the little UPS store, it confuses me because I'm like, if it was all about our education, and guess what? We're supposed to be educated. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm looking at these immigrants coming over here. I'm like, if it was all about, like, we get denied when we go to jobs because we can't speak a certain amount of grammar. But I'm looking at these East Indians, they can't speak no English, but they able to have businesses. So I'm like, is it really about the education?
Now, you know what? Let me tell you, they baited and switched off of education a long time ago. They use the schools now to radicalize people who think they're smart, to radicalize you against your own interest. And now you got a degree to go with your stupidity. No one can tell you anything. If your particular degree doesn't transfer to the embedment of your people, it's useless. And that's why Christ, it tells you in the epistles, the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. You let the same enemy who have destroyed you give you a pat on your head and a piece of paper, and now you think you're useful while your people burn to the ashes. It means nothing. They've been switched off of academia and went another way. As soon as they seen us coming into it, they switched it into something else, and they already parlayed to another degree that we aspire to be like them. They've already pivoted. They said, okay, these blacks, they done figured out that there's some education, there's some insight of how to run things, because only the elite at one time can go to school because they were controlling the world, right? Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and all these other schools. But then we started coming in and they said, okay, let's pivot. Let's now, instead of giving them something useful that can help their communities, we'll radicalize them against their own interests and have them go into the community dumb as a doorknob to destroy their own people. And not only that, on top of that, take this bill you'll never pay with you also. So the question is, and now solutions. Not the question, but solutions now, so I can pivot internationally. Solution. The solution is, if Trump is shutting everything down, our people need to just shut everything down and recalibrate everything. Come with a moral code and what? A platform as well as a curricula that will be taught to our children going forward, and nothing else different. If it's really about the voice of the people and the citizenry is made out of the people, if the people unite, and don't say they can't unite because they unite for everything else they're protesting for. They would shut down and say, listen, since we are majority Christian, our educational system will be reading, writing, and arithmetic, and anything outside of that will align with our moral foundation and core beliefs. Period. All teachers, faculty, and everyone is on board. Whoever don't believe in it, go get your own schools and teach anything you would like, because you are the minority anyway. So that means if you believe in all this transsexual stuff, hey, it's not too many of y'all. Get a school where you can do it all and be accepted amongst yourselves. This is a free country. We're not saying you can't do that, but your immorality does not align with our morality. We see things differently, and that's okay. This is America. It's okay to have different ideas, still be citizens, but separate. So if you want it, you can have a whole transsectional school if you want. That's on you. Do the curricula for that. This is what people who truly believe in Christ need to stand up and do, and say, you know what? The churches all need to come together with the parents in the community and all come together and have a meeting, a town hall in every city, and say, we're not waiting for City Hall to dictate what happens to our families and children going forward. We are the people, and we will dictate the curriculum. Whoever don't like it, hit the door. Because it's a judgment for all of us for allowing this. And the white liberals that's coming over here and destroying our children with that ideology, they don't even live next to us. They're going to go right back to where they come from, living right next door to a Republican that they're telling us they hate. They're going to go right next door to a Republican, living on the outside of the chaos that they've constructed in our community so that we can come against one another. That's what needs to happen. Everyone needs to shut down and say, you know what? We're going the wrong way. Churches need to all come together. And if somebody in the church and all that saying, well, hold up, we got to be more inclusive. Listen, get him out of here or get her out of here.
Facts.
It ain't open for no conversation anymore. Okay? Because inclusion starts with the majority, not the minority. You got to be included with us. There's more of us than you. What I just stated, if everybody came together, this stuff will be changed immediately overnight. And then do that in every area. We'll start with the fact that we are what? The majority of us are Christians. So our Christian values will stand. And that would reflect everything in our communities, including how our children are taught. And if you don't believe in it, that's on you. There's many communities that don't believe in God and Christ. Go find a school that aligns with your immorality. And then we can transfer that to everywhere. Now, since we have what? A blueprint, we can now go down the line. Okay, if the majority of us are Christians, how is it that Hindus, Asians, and Muslims are getting the majority of the nonprofit money in our community when we're majority Christian? So we're going to straighten that out right now. If we are majority Christian, you can only get the percentages based on your demographic as far as your religion is concerned when it comes to the pool of nonprofit money in our communities. Period. If you are a Muslim and you're only 7% of our community, you're only 7% of the nonprofit money that goes towards religion in our community. Period. It stops with the numbers. Same thing with folks, we can cut them off at the path if everyone stood together and were true Christians. But the question is, before we pivot, do our people really want a solution? Elder Lawya. Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir.
What I just laid down is something that can easily happen based on us being the people with the majority number, with a platform to present with the numbers. But the question is this what our people want?
You know, sadly enough, we can only go off of the actions of our people. And based on the actions, we can only assume that what we're seeing is what they want. There's no other way to evaluate what it is our people truly desire. And to add to what you were saying as far as, you know, solutions and things of that nature, that could actually change the way that we're seeing things, that can lead to some level of change in our community. We firstly need to reevaluate how we view ourselves. That's first and foremost. But we definitely need to reevaluate how we view our children. The Bible says that children are an heritage of God. Meaning, even though we are the vessels that are used to bring these children forward, ultimately, these children belong to the Most High. These children are a possession of the Most High. And we're just stewards that are set in place who have been blessed with the opportunity to raise these children, to be God-fearing, to be God-loving, to be commandment keepers, to walk in the gospel and the example of Christ. So if we view our children from that perspective, that these children truly belong to the Most High God, that they are His possession, maybe we'll think twice concerning who we allow to teach our children, what they're allowed to teach our children, who we place before them, the entertainment we put before them, we'd be willing to fight and even die and lose our life. And I think this is what Elder Rawchaa alluded to earlier. The fact that we would be willing to stand and actually fight and lose our life to protect the sanctity of our children, and not have them in a position in which these confused people are allowed to continually bombard them with the confused mindset, with these confused ideologies, whether it's the transgender, whether it's the liberalism, whether it's, anything that's being pushed out there that continually leaves our children at a position in which they don't know left from right, up from down. So we have to change the way that our children are being viewed, how they're being seen, how they're being raised, understanding what they are, and who they belong to. And that's the Most High.
Okay, well, check it out. You know what we're going to do? We're going to hold them to task. And when I say hold, we're going to hold everyone to task in the communities where we have churches. We're going to draw up a platform. And in the platform, we'll present this platform to every church in our community. If they truly want to change the curricula or the negative direction of our boys and girls in the inner cities. That means everyone in the community will be down with better schools, no intersectional taught in it, with a Christian value, morality, and guess what? And people can be whatever they want to be on the outside of the school. That's your choice to do that anyway. But the school will be for one thing. It's going to be for what it was set up for in the beginning. A lot of people don't know the schools were set up. They were able, because we didn't trust them before. We didn't trust the colonizers. So the way they was able to get us to allow them to actually teach our children was when they started setting up. The original schools were Catholic schools where they were teaching the Bible a few days a week while some of our parents were working. Our children were allowed to get their arithmetic, reading, writing, and things of that nature and learn the Bible at the same time. A lot of people don't know that's the origin of the United States schools. Because we didn't trust, especially during a time of Jim Crow and racism and all these others, we didn't trust other people teaching our children. But they were able to do it by, well, listen, we're Bible believers. Surely you can trust us. And because we were Christian and had Christian values and wanted to see an advancement so that our children can compete on the level of theirs, it was allowed. A lot of people don't know there was no, all that separation of school and state and all that. The Satanists came in later and started that crap. The original schools, it was the Bible being taught because the morality was set first to get the parents, our parents, to trust the school system. So the first thing we got to do is set up a platform with all the churches who claim they're down with God, and we don't got to agree in doctrine, but we can agree that only what we believe in morally can be pushed within our schools for our children. Period. Period. No intersectional, no sex education, nothing. No radicalization, no indoctrination of government, nothing.
Right.
Read, write, arithmetic, and true history. Intersexual, radicalization, socialism, all of that they're teaching to radicalize our children, out the door. If you want to take your children to that, afterwards, that's on you. But it cannot be included in curriculum because it's undoing what the parents are trying to instill in their children. And we wonder why we're losing our children. And then present it to all the churches, then put it out there before the population. This was presented before this pastor and this particular pastor, this particular church, and they didn't want nothing to do with it so that everyone can know what their pastors truly is about. It's public. Here it is. The letter went out to the church. No response. That pastor don't want anything to do with helping our children. because the impoverished state is how they sell the dream in our communities. They don't want to help the problem. Suffering is how they get paid, doing what? Hustling God as a future, as a future financial rainfall down on you. And just put it out there. We contact this pastor, hear nothing from him. Contact this so-called community activist, nothing from him. So it got to be grassroots. And on top of that, eventually we're going to have to teach our own children. That's where it's coming to. We're being forced to have to teach our own children. So we can't change the world overnight, right? Can we make changes in this strange world? It's hard because we're up against so much. But guess what? We can put something in place for those who would like to change. And that's the point. And the rest will burn to dust. Now, and you know what's deep about it? I see these so-called agents called apologetics, Lawya. It seemed like Israelites cannot do nothing unless they have something to say about it. But they don't have nothing to say about the transsexuality and the demoralization and the low IQs of our children in the inner city, especially the boys. And how Christians have no pushback against the intersexuality and the trans and all that. It's the Christians allowing it. You don't hear the apologetics talking about it at all. You don't see them come. Don't think about Israelites. Why don't you go into the inner cities to fight with the Christian pastors to save what? The moral line that we need to hold against Sodom and Gomorrah. Where are you? These agents, the only thing they think about when it comes to Israelites is the fact that more of us are learning we're Israel. That's the only thing that concerning them, is that their grip that they once had on us theologically is gone. But they really cared about our children and our people, those who are Christians. They would have gotten in front of what? What's going on in our schools, the demoralization of what's going on in our schools from what? A predominant Christian population. So yeah, I'm going to keep you all posted, because we're going to have to draft something, put it down, go into the inner cities, talk to our people, and see if our people really want to change. Or who knows, maybe they'll stone us. Speaking of being stoned, it's time to transition into some international news. There's something going on. Now, I'm going to talk about this tonight because why? We've taught all over the earth. We got churches in different parts, remote parts of the earth, even before a lot of Israelites started traveling in different places. Zimbabwe, Ghana, and a matter of fact, we have Elder Rawchaa as well as Elder Rawchaa, who went to Africa. Even though we got Zimbabwe, we had Ghana in different parts. We've been in Africa.
South Africa.
South Africa, we're in Africa. We've been there years ago before people started traveling all over the place. And there's something going on with Nathaniel, IUIC, where some stoning happened over in Kenya. Now, there's many dynamics to this, and we're going to unpack this on our, during our international portion of this broadcast. What's going on abroad? What is the narrative? And what is our take on being stoned in Kenya? Well, because there's narratives out there, but being that we are all around the earth and teaching, including Africa, there's probably some nuances that people who hasn't traveled over there would probably need to know. Okay? So let me pull that up real quick. Let me pull this up. And neither do I would ever agree. If somebody's trying to teach the word of the Almighty, I would never agree with anyone being harmed. Okay? while teaching the word of the Almighty.
Right.
All right. Let's go here. Right. It was sent to me, so I thought, since we have churches all over the place, including Africa, that we need to chime in it, because there's some nuances that people that haven't traveled over there probably would never understand. All right. So hopefully we can fill in, give some insight to how something like this can actually happen. All right. All right. Let me get him off of here, and let's go to the next layer here. All right. Fair use for educational purposes. Israelite United in Christ chased out of Kenya. Now that's police. Those are the police. Tear gas. So they was at the town square, right, in Kenya, right? Let me go here. Fair use for educational purposes. Shout out to Phil Scott, great brother, a brother doing the work of the Almighty on many levels.
African Diaspora News Act today.
What tagged while in Kenya for preaching that Jesus was black-skinned. Let's watch the video.
Huyu ni mmoja kati walioumizwa. Naona ili ni jiwe akagonga usoni. Kwa kuhubiria watu wetu tu ni watu wa maana na wao ni wana wa Israeli. Na Yesu Kristo mwenyewe ni mtu mweusi kama nyinyi. Akagonga mawe.
All of them. We went to a church yesterday. We were teaching outside. As soon as the church heard Jesus was black, they were infuriated. We've just reading the scripture. They got so mad they threw rocks. Why? Because a lot of you in Kenya hate yourself. You hate the way you look. You hate anything black. Why? Because it upsets your European colonizers. So they look, we're their brothers. We're here to help you. They start throwing rocks, men and women. They despise what the Bible says. So we read Song of Solomon. You read it, right? Yes, sir. And they were like, no. Picked up rocks, started throwing.
Well, it's safe to say that the greatest enemy of the black man is his own self. As seen in the video, these guys, the Kenyans, threw stones at the preacher and his thing. Why? For saying that Jesus was black-skinned.
Okay. Now you all heard the narrative, okay? That it happened because it was said that Jesus was a black man. Now, am I going to discount their particular narrative of this? No, they were there. And I'm going to have Shapat chime in on it, who's also a part of headed up the African ministry in Ghana for the gathering of Christ Church. I'm having them chime in. But number one, the narrative is here is they were resisted or assailed upon because they said Christ was white. Okay. I'm not
black.
I mean Christ was black, and he wasn't a white man. Excuse me. Thank you, Elder Lawya. That Christ was a black man, and because he's not white, that's why they assailed him. Right? Now, let's deal with it for a moment. Now, of course, if you're going to teach out on the street, we always teach Christ was a black man. All right? Now, is that the reason they were stoned? This is what we do know. Africa is very tribal. Very tribal. Anywhere in Africa is tribal. Which means it's a different dynamic in Africa compared to the United States. You cannot go inside in front of someone's property or someone's business without what? A rite of passage. You can't do it. Someone has to vouch for you. So to go in front of someone else's church over there like you would in the United States, that won't fly. That won't fly. And a lot of these countries outside of the United States, listen, they are very fearful of people operating because what? They don't know how we get down in the United States. They don't know we're non-threatening. Sometimes if there's a conflict or noise, they are in fear of someone burning down one of their buildings. They don't know how far you're going to take it. They don't know you. That's why you must have a rite of passage, because it's a cultural difference. Very cultural difference. When we were over in Africa, and different parts of Africa, we had people who were liaisons, people who knew others in high positions. So even when we didn't know, that things could be threatening towards us, we were told by someone and asked, did y'all go there the other day? Some people seen you all, and listen, this is how y'all have to handle things because you're not in America. And we were non-threatening, didn't have no intentions of harming anyone. But we were told the next day, you were seen here, and this is what's going on. So some people may assume that they went out there and just said Christ was a black man and people started throwing stuff because they self-hated, when sometimes it's calculated. Sometimes you would have a leader over a community or a tribal area that would state, if they come over here, and with the police included, we're going to tear gas them and we're going to stone them. Because they didn't get a rite of passage, and you're not going to disrespect our tribal rules here. You're not in the United States. Another thing, they were in the town square. This is what y'all probably don't know. In the town square is where people sell their goods. And not like the United States, some people, you sell your goods, that's how you're going to eat that week. So some of the people who was amongst the brethren should have gave those brothers who come from America the lay of the land. You go inside the town square and people are trying to sell something, and now you post up and slowing up business, which will decide whether or not their family eat that night or eat that week. So you have to know how to teach, and you have to know where and when to teach. Okay? You have to, and guess what? You have to understand that in the United States, let alone a foreign country. And I'm not speaking about something I don't know. Right? While I will agree that it could be a situation where Christ as a black man was mentioned? With my knowledge of what happens in these countries, the reason why they did that, people threw stones and all these others, were way more nuanced and complex than what's being explained. I'm glad those brothers are safe, but let me tell you, it's tribal in these countries. You heard about Hotel Rwanda. You're dealing with a different breed of black man in different parts of Africa. Okay? If you white, you have the right of passage. Okay? It's a different thing. But when you're black, there's so many black people there, guess what? You really don't make a difference when it comes to who you are, because you're in a country that's predominantly black. You're just another black man. Now, maybe you have on a shirt or a uniform that differentiates you, but they don't see you as nothing else but another black guy walking around. Now, this is what I don't like when I say there's a different type of black man in different parts of Africa. Well, what was done to some of our people over there, let me blow it up, is on a different level. African porter carrying an explorer across the shallow river and Mozambique. Okay? So you have to realize there is a level of self-hatred in some of these areas. Not self-hatred, but more so tribal. What's tribal? If you're not from their tribe, you can be considered an enemy. That's why you must go to their chiefs, their princes, people that are respected in their community, so that they can say, so that they'll know not to touch you. So when you seen that tear gas and all that goes, that wasn't just some people, that was police involved in all of that. So you got to know how to operate amongst any level of people in another country. You have to find your niche and understand. Now, personally, let me go here. Some people might ask, well, Elder Rawchaa, what will you do? What would you do? Well, you got to be all things to all men that you should gain a few, which means this. There's things I can teach, right, that wouldn't have anything to do with white or black. I can go into history. You want to know how you got into Kenya? You want to know where you were before Kenya? Here's some history. I don't got to talk white people at all. Okay? I can go into the Bible, show the history, and show Christ is returning for you. You know Christ is returning for you as an Israelite, and here's the scriptures. Here's the tribe of Israel you come from. But I'm not going to do it at a time where they're trying to feed their families. Their markets are different than our markets. I'll let them deal with their markets. Then after the market, I'll sit, if I'm given what? Rite of passage to sit with different tribes or communities. Or I would have to broadcast to them in their country. I've done it in the UK in different areas. You broadcast, and those of like mind can come in what? Come into a safe setting where I know the people that are there, want to be there without putting lives in danger. Now, let me go back here. This is what was going on in Mozambique. It's a different type of thing when you can put a white man on your shoulders and carry him over the water, right? Right? There's a different type of deal here. See, Jake, in America, we wasn't going out like this, all right? So you're dealing with a different scenario in certain areas. Now, there are some lions who would never do this over in different parts of Africa. You're talking about Zimbabwe, revolutionary areas that would never succumb to something like this. But you have to understand the mindset isn't the same across all of Africa. I've been in Egypt. The Sudanese are voluntary servants, a servant class for Arabs and white people, and dare not think to be anything other than an underling amongst them. I've seen it.
That's right.
And they see how I'm being treated, and they looking at me. I'm like, listen, I'm going to be treated like Judah. I don't care where I am on the earth. Okay? They looking at me like, you ain't going to grab this bowl of rice with me? Hell to the no, I ain't. A matter of fact, you better come over here, brother, for protection. So you have a different spirit when it's come to being subjugated in Africa, where they'll accept the servant class. And this is why, not all, but they'll bring certain people with those behaviors, that tribal behavior, over here to undermine us. So you have to understand the mentality of a lot of people in Africa. A lot of people think they're the motherland, that they're strengthened in numbers because they're so condensed and concentrated and so many black people there, folks. A lot of those countries over there a lot of these countries haven't been formed as long as we've been in slavery over here in America. A lot of these are newly formed countries that have been subjugated by Britain, by France, and they haven't gotten out of that. I would say that, I'm not going to try to insult people, but they haven't got out of that mentality that they're better than that. Let me put it that way. Because hell, if I'm going to be carrying somebody, an Arab or somebody on my shoulder, but there's history of this. There's history of this. Where, there's history of this, man. Look at this. They carry a cat on sticks. And all of that. Esau be laying down, they be carrying him, shooing the bugs off him and everything. So you're dealing with a different mentality in certain areas, especially Kenya. Especially Kenya. Shapat, you there? Where's Shapat at?
Yep, I'm here.
I know you heard about what just happened tonight, as I've spoken with you.
Yeah.
It's been new news. Fill in, brothers and sisters, because like I said, I believe it's more to it than just Christ. They didn't want to be taught that Christ wasn't a white man. There's not to say that they didn't say. Of course, if you're an Israelite, you're going to teach Christ is black.
All right.
But let's look at the tear gas one more time. All right, and we're going to get some insight because the cops were involved in this. Right? And another thing, you just can't be pulling up, and that's why I'm saying, even in the United States, you should be respectful. You shouldn't be pulling up on other people's property without what? A cordial meeting of respect amongst leaders. If someone has a flock that they're guiding, it's not our position to disturb that because we disagree in doctrine. That's disrespectful. That's wrong. Now, obviously, the police is letting them know that we're not feeling this. Now, there's a few choices one can make at this point. If it was me, I'd be like, sir, how would you like me to handle this?
Right.
I would ask the police, sir, this is your authority. You know these people. You know this area. You probably know that who would know whether or not I'm in danger more so than him?
Right.
So I would ask him. I'm like, sir, what do you suggest I do? And if he says, I suggest y'all get out of here, I'll ask, well, can you make a lane to protect us? I mean, so that we can go. Please, can you guide us out of here? That's what I would have done. And probably would have left some flyers where they can meet us later if someone wanted to hear the word of the Almighty. Right?
I want to read that.
And I'm going to tell y'all right now, folks, a lot of people in the United States don't understand how real it is in other countries. That's a dirt ground right there. See? A lot of us, let me tell you, you can get pampered over here. It's different. Don't you know in other countries, there's a dirt floor where they call jail. There'd be scorpions and everything running around up in there. And the only time you're going to eat if your family brings you meals. So we leave with an American mind, not realizing that it's not like this in the rest of the world. Okay? This is real. So whoever was the chaperone or the representatives or the brothers who was converted there should have warned the brothers from the United States the lay of the land. Like, hey, we can go here, but I don't know if we're going to make it out. Okay? This is risky. All right? So I commend people for teaching the word of the Almighty, but you got to know how to do it in instant, in season, out of season. You got to know, what is the best dynamic when it comes to, where to deliver the word. Because if you end up not delivering the word anyway, then what was it for? Right? Shapat. But I'm here. But I do commend them, teaching the word and trying to really help our people out of the stupor. That should be commended. Okay? But you have to understand the mentality of the people we're going to. These are some different people in certain parts of Africa. Very tribal. Some of them can't even stand the tribe not too far from them, a few miles away. Let alone an American stepping up, talking about this is what I have to say to you. Right? What the floor is yours, Shapat, because I know you and Gaja, y'all helped set up Africa and all that. Well, Ghana, we have places in the different parts of Africa, but go on.
Yeah, so there's like a few dynamics to that, and of course there is a thing in Ghana specifically, where if you're a certain persuasion, they turn around and on a Sunday, because unfortunately that's what they were given in terms of church. And if they see a certain persuasion, they have this thing where in their mind, it's good. They can go home because they've seen God.
So if they see a white guy walking down the street on the way to church Sunday, it's like, well, okay, in Ghana, I can go home. And you say, yo, where you going? Well, I just seen Jesus. So that's
literally.
Listen, think about the mentality one must be in to say, listen, I don't need church because I just seen Jesus tying his sneakers up the street. A white guy can be bending over on a stoop tying his sneaks, his Jordans, and a black guy turn around and say, oh, I seen Jesus. Think about the psychosis that must be going on there if that's a part of your belief system. So you have to realize there's something else going on in different parts of Africa that's there's no way to logically make sense of it, because they also have an amalgamation of Christianity and witchcraft and all these others mixed into one religion over there. So there's many layers, but go on, Shabbat, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so, with that in mind, we're to be fishers of men. And the Bible and Christ with his parables always uses things that we deal with every single day to explain spiritual things. So when Elder's mentioning, and he's mentioned the wisdom and how, like Elder asked the rhetorical question, how he would deal with that, the wisdom in that approach, brothers and sisters, I want to just touch very briefly on some of those scriptures, knowing that we are supposed to be fishers of men. Granted, I throw my hands up. I've fished or tried to fish in the past many years ago. It's difficult. But the point about being fishers of men is that fishing is a skill. First and foremost, depending on what type of fish you want to catch is going to determine and dictate the method for catching that fish. Secondly, how many fish you want to catch is also going to impact the method for catching that fish. Then you have another thing called bait, okay? The thing that the fish is attracted to catch on in order for you to take that fish. These are all things that exist within fishing. We are to be fishers of men. Knowing this, okay, 1 Corinthians 9, and there's so many things, but for the sake of time, I'm going to just jump down to 20. 1 Corinthians 9:20. And unto the Jews, I became as a Jew. This is Paul. That I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law, as under the law. That I might gain them that are under the law. So knowing the lay of the land. If you are to be fishers of men, like Elders mentioned, the wisdom and how you would approach this, never mind after the fact when things are fumbled and they've turned sour, the opportunity was right there with the police officer was like, listen, y'all got to close down shop, basically. And the response back is, no, I want to keep doing. What did I do wrong? It isn't about what I did wrong, okay? Jump down to 22. To the weak
hold up. Don't go down to 22. You skipped something right here.
21?
21.
To them that are without law, as without law.
There you go.
Right.
So you got a people who don't know the law. So you have to what? Teach them on the level they're on.
They're at. Right. Meet them where they're at.
That don't mean to lie to them.
Right.
Like, I don't got to teach people the law to teach them the history of how they got there. Right? Because once I teach them the history of how they got there, that's interesting because it's something about their history. Then they'll be like, well, hold up. Who are we? And then when I show Israel, automatically the law is a prerequisite. Automatically, if I'm Israel, they be like, well, what do Israel do? Follow the law. So to them that are without the law, you have to present to them without the law. That's a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we talked about 911 and how what happened with the building September 11th, and when you fold a $20 bill up, the Twin Towers are falling, and people were looking at that like, yo, what's going on here? And then next thing you know, they're up in class learning the law. right? So to them that are without the law, as without law. Being not without law to God, that means it's not that it's without law to God, but under the law of Christ. See how Christ was able to hang out with publicans, sinners, and all these others to deal with them on the level they were on? Understand, when we go amongst these people, we are not better than these people. We are these people, and they are us. Right? So it's about being able to relate to the point where those same police out there will become your guard. They will become your protection. To them that are without law, as without law, being not without law to the Most High, but under the law to Christ, that I might gain them that are without the law. That's key. Now go ahead, Elder.
Right. So, you know, of course, the next verse, that I might gain, I'm paraphrasing here, that I may gain some, right?
Yeah.
All things to all men. There's so much here, though. It then goes on to the other points in that video, jumping down to verse 24. Know you not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run that you might obtain, right? This is what is being relayed here. 25. And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. I've seen somebody comment about the analogy or parable Christ gives about us being fishers of men. Another piece and component, a major piece of being a fisherman, regular fisherman now, you need some major patience, and you gotta be quiet. You can't disturb the fish. You can't disturb them, right? So you have to translate those tools into being spiritual fishers of men. Every man that striveth for the mastery for fishing fish knows you gotta be patient. Know you have to be silent. Know you have to switch up your bait, right? So if we're gonna do that for being fishers of men, if you want that mastery, you have to be, like it says right here, 1 Corinthians 9:25, temperate in all things. Now, they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. I therefore so run, not as uncertainly, so fight I, not as one that beateth the air. I'm not here shadow boxing just so others can see me how I can shadow box nice. Okay, is what Paul is saying. 27, but I keep under my body and bring it under subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others like they were preaching, which is commendable, right? I myself should become a castaway. Wisdom would have prevented them becoming a castaway.
Because at the end of the day, it's about teaching the word of the Almighty. And guess what? If they don't want to hear that Christ is a black man, well, okay, I don't got to teach that.
Right.
But at the end of it, if the bait is right, that's like you trying to catch fish, and instead of putting a worm on the hook, you put a stone on the hook. Right? So as a teacher, you got to find out the level the person is on, so that they'll be on your side to help deliver the word.
Right.
They're not there to hear what you have to say. They're here to hear what will benefit them towards God. And that's the whole thing. That's knowing the lay of the land, trusting the people that are there, and knowing what doctrine that will be effective for those particular people. And one thing one must do, that instead of going into it and think that we know everything, we have to dig into their culture, figure out what they're concerned about, right? And respect the history that led them to where they are. Getting out of our own element so that we can do what? Be all things to all men, that so we can gain a few. But guess what? That was a learning. That was a lesson there for them. Right? That was a lesson. The first thing I would have did is turn around and say, brother, why didn't you tell me that this was a possibility? You all are here.
Right.
And if this can, one of us could have gotten hurt here. Give me some insight going forward of any level of threats that can happen, so that we can shape a ministry around those particular pitfalls to save our people, because we're not in America. Okay, you know that thing could have got volatile there. I'd have told the brother, you know this area. Okay, so don't put me in harm's way here. We have more people to teach. Give me the lay of the land so that this doesn't happen going forward. Okay, I would have spoken to the brothers and say, listen, how could y'all have got me into this situation? Someone could have killed one of us here. We know that the Most High controlled it all, but all in all, there was no wisdom with the brothers that's living there in Kenya. They should have known that those smoke bombs were a possibility. But I thank the Almighty that no one got gravely harmed. I thank the Most High for that. But that's a learning lesson that, you know, when you're traveling throughout the earth, you have to learn the culture and the minds of the people we're seeking to save. Anything else?
Yeah, that's it. You know, a lot of the points being brought out already. That was it. But yeah, Africa, of course, you know, gets a representation of Africa, like Africa's a country, when, like Elder mentioned, no, Africa is a continent. There are many countries within that continent, and even the country itself, the individual countries, a lot of them are so disjointed within the country itself.
Yeah.
Like America, like the UK, you will have divides based on their traditions and tribal divides, but religion divides also. Most of the country, a lot of it is Christian, but there's certain, you know, Muslim factions, and then they got their traditional religions that they have and follow, and customs, and the voodoo thing going on, witch doctors. So many things going on. But in the midst of all this is the economic point that, you know, a lot of commerce, as we understand westernized commerce, is done on the side of the road. Yeah. Okay? In Jamaica, you call it grass cat, where you sell your goods on a little wooden thing that you know, Jamaicans have a special tack of turning anything into something, right? Put wheels on that thing, steering wheel, all of that. But you step in the way of them being able to make money. That's a big like threat right there.
Man, it's like that in Egypt too, man. I mean, when we were in Alexandria, man, I'm like, why is traffic going so slow? There was a cat he had a horse. He had a horse, and he had two chains that linked to some wood holding a door. And he had a seat on a door. He talking about, how? And I'm like, yo, what does it? And I'm talking about, listen, we're talking about one of the busiest highways that wraps around the whole Mediterranean down there in Alexandria. So, man, it's a different vibe in these countries. I'm like, yo, get this dude off the road. He's sitting there, clap, clap, clap. You know, one dude he has a donkey. You know what I mean? He has a donkey riding on, he got a bucket as a seat on top of the thing. I'm like, yo, is this legal? It's like, man, listen, just have patience. You got that patience. You're not in America. It's a whole, brothers and sisters, so when y'all see things from the other side, looking at it, you're seeing the world from the comforts of America. I'm going to tell you, the world isn't as fast and put together as America. That's why when they come over here, try to act as if they had it going on back where they come from, we've been there. Listen, You can't bring that, you know, that Wakanda, that Wakanda type of mythology and sell that to us. All right. REI, you there?
Yes, sir.
Real
Yes,
quick.
sir.
Thank you, Elder. REI, real quick.
Yes, sir.
You was telling me about the Sudanese over there who was being ran around by the Arabs over in different parts of Egypt. Give me some insight on what you've experienced when you've seen them over there in different parts of Egypt.
Well, they just, like you said, they're servants unto these Arabs still to this day, and it seems like they choose to be. I mean, they'll turn on us for it. I mean, you know, I seen them getting smacked. You could be at Starbucks and you just look to the side, and when I say smacked, I mean it's like a big, huge WWF smack, and it's just, you know, that's just how it goes out there.
So you seen the Sudanese getting slapped around by Arabs?
Yeah, and sometimes they would confuse us with Nigerians and stuff like that, or try to tell us to shut up, or they'll grab you. The Egyptians will grab you. So I wasn't shocked when you said those brothers out there doing that, because you remember every time you would tell the young brethren who came out there, like, listen, once we find out how it is out here, we can't just be all out doing certain things. And every time somebody would try to do that, it would cause trouble, you know.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you. Put it this way, because I know it had to be a culture shock to you, being a brother from Texas, seeing a brother get slapped around by an Arab over in the Middle East, and the fact that these people would religiously pray as if they were holy, as if they were down with Allah, but then when they see a Sudani or one of our people in front of the public, slap them around, and Sudani would just sitting there, you know, groveling and asking them, what did I do wrong? How can I make it right? What was the culture shock when you seen Arabs smacking Sudanese around?
I felt very bad. I just was very surprised, you know, but then I started to understand the scriptures a little bit more, and I realized that, because all I've been hearing my whole life, we need to come back to Africa, do, you know, just certain things like Africans do. But I'm like, if this is what coming back to Africa means, you know, because let me tell you, these Arabs, they will have your family out on the streets and all that with no care. And they'll smile in your face, oh, how you doing today? But let me tell you, I realized, I said, man, is this what Christ wants us to turn the other cheek to these cats? And I realized that's talking about with the body members. These cats, you could turn the other cheek, they gonna smack it on this side, smack that thing on the other side, because the God they worship, they care nothing for us. And definitely, you know, those four brothers over there in Africa, man, it's pretty sad. I've seen some stuff during that revolution. I'm not going to talk about it on here, but I'll say some things that were going on, like Gaddafi's area. What's that called again?
You talking about Tiananmen Square?
Yeah, no, in Tunisia. Is it Tunisia where Gaddafi's from?
You talking about Libya? In Libya.
Libya, excuse me, yes. Man, I've seen some things. It was like hundreds of Arabs. A brother was hung upside down from a rope, and all of them had swords in their hands during the time of Obama, and they were just hitting them and cheering, Allah, hitting this brother. But you couldn't see that on normal news. You know how you get certain news over there you can't see in America?
Yeah.
It was gruesome, brother. So it was like, people don't know, like, they think it's all cool over there. You can't just go over there and, you know what I mean, teach it, you know, in an unwise way. It don't go down like that.
Let me tell you, you know what? I think when our people think about Africa, you know, we try to fantasize it, even though there are people and we're here to help them, and you know, it's like we think about them being the Prince of Zamunda, and it's like,
yes, sir.
It's, man, let me tell you, and it's a shame because we think what we're thinking about over here is like, listen, we have fought for everything we've received here against all opposition, and on an international stage fought for everyone else. And what we're thinking is, when we go over to Africa, the united front really gonna be on, because look how many of them are there, condensed in a country. But because there were so many people condensed and we were the minority here, I come to find out in certain parts of Africa, they had to do a greater job of subjugating them as far as the psychological side of it. Because there's so many, they had to do more damage there.
Elder, I totally agree with you. And one thing, when I looked at this captivity thing we're in, I said, man, when we studied the Arab history and, the Babylonian history, the Persian history, and now that we're in our last captivity, when I look at Esau's captivity, it's not that we didn't go through them, but I can tell you, you can actually rise up in the Roman Empire with Esau, be somebody. And for me, that's like, it's captivity, but there's some grace in there. Try to be captivity with the Arabs. You're going to be like Moses. Nobody giving you food unless somebody bring it to you. It's bad, man. Your children getting, raped. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I wish I'd have brought you in last Sunday, because we need to tell people that there's a different cultural belief system when it comes to Islam over there, opposed to how we believe it's practiced over in America. It's like our people civilized Islam, and the way we do it here, you can tell we took some etiquette from us coming out of the church and how we practice it, right? I don't agree with it, but brothers and sisters over here that deal with Islam don't even realize how different it is in comparison to how the Arabs do it over in the Middle East. It's wild. And
Elder, I thought we was ghetto too, but I realized, I said, man, we kingly ghetto, because some of the things I seen some Arabs do, I thought we was ghetto. I'm like, man, you can go some projects and try to compare that thing to some of them dusty places. No offense, and
man,
like,
listen,
man, I'm grateful for what I have.
Let me tell you, I'm gonna tell you right now, you can have the deep, darkest project, and compared to their ghettos in Egypt and other places, let me tell you, you living in a Taj Mahal. That's why I don't ever want to hear nobody come over from someplace else and try to look down on Judah here. Because we've seen where you come from, and we know what you worship, and we know how many gods you sacrifice to. And the last thing they wanted us to see, brother, they wanted us to have the idea of the world from the programming they've given us here in America. The last thing they wanted us to see is what was really going on in these countries. Because you come over here and try to hold your nose up to us as if you got it going on back there. Listen, that's why we thought something was deep about Obama coming from Kenya. And I'm going to show you what you get in Kenya right here. Give me 1 second. This is what you get in Kenya. This is where they claim Obama came from. Okay, check it out. Here it is right here. And they made us believe, you know what I mean, the Messiah came from Kenya. Where is it at real quick? Hold on. I'm going to show you what you get. This is where Obama came from. Right here. There it is. I'm going to show you how it pop off. Okay, you ain't going to listen, all right. Make it pop. Make it pop right here. That's where it's at right there. That's where Obama is from, right there. I'm gonna tell y'all, brothers and sisters, don't allow don't allow people to try to fantasize these other areas on the outside of here. It's a culture shock. When it's time to go, we're going to go where we need to go. But understand, you're not welcome with open arms like they're claiming. Brothers and sisters, we're setting up churches in all these different areas because there's a remnant out of the four corners of the earth. But understand, there's no open acceptance in these other countries. All of the countries of the world are against the awakening. Why do you think there's no Judite representation in the United Nations? Think about all the African countries that have a seat in the United Nations, who've been more influential and have impacted the earth more than Judah right here in America. Not one seat there. I'm going to tell you. Y'all need to check this out. The whole world is in it together to keep Judah oppressed because Judah began to wake people up. And with that knowledge, teaching the word, comes caution, wisdom on how to walk. Be wise as serpents and harmless as a dove. I need y'all to think about that. There's black representation there in the UN, but how many people that's sitting on the seat of the UN that looks like us speaks for us? Everything we do have to be grassroots against the establishment that's been set up internationally in the world. Everything we do is grassroots because there is no assistance or help by anyone. All right, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir.
What areas, real quick, do we have churches set up in Africa right now?
Right now we have Zimbabwe in the southern part of Africa, Zimbabwe and South Africa.
Zimbabwe, South Africa, and we have Elder Rawchaa, Ghana, right?
That is correct. Yep.
We have Ghana. And I had someone reach out to me from Nigeria the other day. So obviously we're going to have to go down through there soon. But
yeah, Elder Rawchaa did go to Nigeria, but we're going to be working on fully establishing that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And yeah, by the way, we will be in the UK. All praises be to the Almighty. We will be in the UK in a couple of weeks for First Fruits. For First Fruits, we'll be there. And Gaja is seeking to set up a few podcasts that we can sit in on that may have questions concerning the awakening. A few podcasts we'll probably be on while we're there. We're going to be there for a week in the UK, so that's going to be a blessing to be able to see where that goes. I mean, the last time we were there, a few radio stations got shut down.
Yeah.
They didn't change staff. They didn't rename the radio station and everything. So, hey, I'm looking forward to the next level of discourses we may have over there in the UK. But there's a lot of things have changed since we left. A lot of people have awakened, and guess what? That whole conscious thing have been almost dismantled, really. That conscious community over there, really the whole thing was conscious community before we came through there. So all praises be to the Most High, the truth is prevailing over there. Yeah. And another thing with Kenya, they have a large population. Probably 60% of the population of Kenya is Muslim. So that's another thing, another reason why you got to be careful. Every African country aren't the same. You got some African countries which are predominantly Muslim. So you have to be careful when you go into some of these countries and what type of history, what type of bait to use. That's the best word to use since Shapat brought up being fishers of men. What type of bait to use based on the people you're seeking to enlighten. All right. We at 9:30. Can we make changes in this strange world? We're making a change. We are making a change. And through the Spirit of the Almighty, He's awakening so many people. And guess what, folks? It's about what? Stimulating the minds of our people through righteous ideas. A lot of what we've mentioned tonight, a lot of people haven't even thought about. And now people understand, well, okay, I'm going to do my part in making the change. Like I mentioned earlier, nationally. That it's if we're Christians or believe in Christ, we don't have to have the same doctrine, but we can agree on what will not be taught to our children and what should be taught to them. If we are predominantly Christian nation, or is this nation a nation of hypocrites? So again, the idea we put out there is to go to these churches, go to the community and say, listen, let's save our children while there's a chance, and make it where the intersexuality, radicalization, and socialism cannot be taught to our children in school, and switch this whole thing up to where we dictate the curriculum that's taught to our children along the values instilled in them while home. That's number one. Internationally, well, if we're going to spread the word of the Almighty and go out into other countries or whatever the case is, we must learn the lay of the land. Get linked in with people who gives us rite of passage so not to disrespect another's culture. And the tribes that are there, not that sometimes you may offend doing something that you think is okay because it's all right in the United States. That would mean what? That would mean jail time in another country. So we must study the laws of that country, understand their constitution, and know exactly what bait to use to bring brothers and sisters internationally into what? The true doctrine of Christ. Okay? Because what times are we living in? Let's end it here, Elder Lawyer. Perilous times.
Yes, sir. And I wanted to come off the back of that to
okay, go ahead, Elder Lawyer. Go ahead.
You can read this one first.
Okay, let's get it. Second Timothy 3:1. Let's read it.
Yes, sir. The book of 1 Timothy 3:1.
Yes, sir.
Or is it 4:1? You want perilous times?
Yeah, perilous times. 2 Timothy 3:1.
Yes, sir. 2 Timothy 3:1. All right. 2 Timothy 3:1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God.
Go ahead.
Having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof, from such turn away.
For such turn away. We're living in perilous times. And as if the government set up all of our institutions knowing this is the spirit that most people are in, that will accept diverse lusts, intersexuality, immorality. And they're going to do it as long as there's no resistance. And the Most High is like, what? Well, where are my people on earth who claim to believe in me? Who will stand up against the evildoers? Or will you allow the devil to continually snatch your children? And if it happens, you can't blame the Satanist. We gotta stand in front of the gap and get others with like minds, because guess what? The Satanists, they know no bounds. As long as they are allowed, they will pervert the earth and destroy the children of Israel and all that's right. Now, you as parents, you have children. Are you going to allow them? Go ahead, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to mention a few things in regards to the topic of teaching abroad.
Yeah.
It just so happens that I had the opportunity through the Spirit of the Most High to actually do so in Africa quite some time ago.
Okay.
And I just wanted to, before I go into the points I was going to make, Yahweh, Shalom to Yahweh, you know, he sent me a very good point. He said, when going through the wilderness during Moses' time, weren't our people going to the leaders of different lands to see if our people could pass through? And that's a great point.
Good point.
Even Moses, and none of us, I don't think any of us can say that we're greater than Moses, even he had to check in and make sure that it was fine before he went into certain areas, passed through certain lands, to get access, to be escorted. He had to make sure it was fine.
Yeah.
And if the leaders of that land said, no, you can't come through here, that was it. They couldn't come through. So I wanted to start off by saying that. But one thing I wanted to address as well before getting into my experience teaching over there, I see a lot of people stating that, well, maybe we shouldn't go to these places anyway, such as Kenya, because these people are, quote unquote, Hamites.
Nah.
Exactly. And to answer that, when the Bible, number one, when the Bible says that the Israelites were scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, that's exactly what the Bible means. The Israelite presence is everywhere on this planet Earth. Throughout the four corners, there's not a place you're going to go to in which there's not an Israelite presence. Secondly, if we can go real quick to the book of 1 Corinthians, in fact, make it 2 Corinthians 11 and 24.
2 Corinthians 11 and 24. I'm there. Let me go here. 2 Corinthians 11 and 24. Go ahead.
And this is for people who say that we shouldn't go to these places based on this. That's not the point we're bringing forward, because not only have we been to many of these places, our presence is going to continue to grow in some of these different areas. What we are saying is that there is a different approach that must be used when we're going into these places, because the lay of the land, the laws of the land, and the spirit of the people is much different than what we experience here. But just a quick example, 2 Corinthians 11 and 24 says, of the Jews received 5 times, this is Paul speaking, of the Jews received 5 times, stripes, 40 stripes, save one. In other words, Paul received 31 lashes from people who were Jews and Israelites indeed. There was no question as to whether they were Hamites or the Israelites, what tribe are they from? There was no question. It was Jews who beat Paul with 39 lashes. 25 says, thrice was I beaten with rods, once I was stoned, so even Paul was stoned. Thrice I suffered shipwreck, a night and a day I have been in the deep. And he goes on and on. Paul was robbed. I mean, you name it, it happened to the Apostle Paul.
Yeah.
And it happened at the hands of the Israelites. So you can't say that, well, we shouldn't go to people because maybe they aren't Israelites, and because they aren't Israelites, they're not receptive, and because they're not receptive, that's the response you're going to get. No, you're going to get that response from Israelites, Gentiles, or anyone who is just not interested in your message. Or, here's the main point I want to highlight. Where you go to speak is very important. when I went to Africa, first and foremost, Zimbabwe, when I went out there years ago to teach, I was told, in fact, I asked first, what are some of the topics that cannot be touched upon in this country? And I was told, you can in no wise speak on anything that relates to government. You cannot speak against government, none of that. Vaccines. You got to be very careful when it comes to the topic of vaccines because a lot is hinging on that particular topic, right? People kind of see that the vaccine program, and this is long before the campaign of 2019. Over there, that topic is a very touchy topic because people kind of see it as, the good white man is coming over with his medicine to help us. That's how many of them see it. So you got to be very careful when it comes to that topic. So I was relegated to only speaking to some of the basics, Cesar Borgia and all of those different things. I was relegated to only speak on like very basic topics based on the things I couldn't touch on. The difference is that when I taught, I wasn't teaching outside of someone's church while they're actively doing a service. And I think that's the key point that brothers have to realize. Even here in the States, we've seen examples of people trying to go outside of people's churches and teach while they're actively doing a service, and it now causing a controversy.
Yeah, that's disrespectful.
Exactly.
You got people coming out of the church, family members and all that, who's there to share in what? They're dealing with their own recreation. They don't know what we know. And then when they come out, you're going to shout them down after they're with their families and all this and think that's the Most High?
Exactly.
That's disrespectful. Exactly. And how do you expect those same people to one day hear you?
Right.
It's enough that you go down the street. Okay, they know in place of the public markets in downtown they can expect you. But now you're singling people out to go in front of their building with their peaceful building to interrupt them. That's wrong. That's wrong. If anything, you know what? That's a shepherd of the Almighty who's over his flock. He might not believe what I believe, but I'm going to respect him. And I'm going to respect him to the degree that one day we can have a conversation. And and once he see that I'm cordial and have decorum, the same decorum that Christ teaches his disciples, he may invite me in one day to sit down and speak with him. There's many pastors. Last Passover, a pastor come up to me. His whole church converted. He's in our church.
Mm-hmm.
Right? One brother come up to me and say, yeah, Elder, I want you to meet my pastor. He was my pastor before I found the truth. His pastor is in the church. So everything shouldn't come through conflict. There's a respect factor. And you know what why I don't like when people go and interrupt other people's gatherings and disrespect. The Most High put the Spirit on them to gather them people and have work, even though we don't agree with them. You know what? I hate it more so than anything when we interrupt other people's gatherings. We forget that we were once there. And see, that's a whole thing in of itself. You were there before. And you know who had you there? Christ did.
That's right.
And it's that step that led to this step. It was that step that led to you learning what you learned, which is the truth. And a lot of us get this truth and think we are entitled to now use it any which way we would like to because we know more than someone else. Well, the Bible tell you that. Ever learning, but never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. It's disrespectful to go in front of another man's building that the Most High have service in his people. It's disrespectful. You don't know what the Most High put on that man's heart to do. And even without your presence, one day this man can turn around and tell his whole flock, I have something to tell you. We're the children of the Almighty. Without even your presence. And I've seen it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No real man of the Most High that's a respectful man will go and disrupt a peaceful gathering that's seeking to serve the Almighty in the midst of this wicked world. They don't believe what you believe, but don't you know the Most High can turn them around? So no, I was never into that. Well, let's go crash someone's church. Disrespectful. And guess what? What we do here in America, that stuff don't work anyplace else. That don't work. You go over to the Middle East and try to teach in front of a mosque. You got the truth. You got the truth. Go to the Middle East and try to set up in front of a mosque and see where they get you. But yet, we'll disrespect our own who are here trying. They might not know everything. Yeah, I don't like Easter. Easter isn't Christ. But a lot of our people don't know it. And right now, they're going to church to get them through the week. In the midst of all this hell, there's some good people still in those buildings.
Absolutely.
So again, absolutely. All that don't go in this place because it's Hamite. I don't know who's into this mindset about Hamites and all that. That's that old UPK garbage. Christ says, go and teach what? All nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So if they're Hamites, they can still get some water.
That's right.
I'm going to tell you, man. The Bible tell you about Israelites who become high-minded. As if you weren't once in darkness. And this is why I'm able to relate to everybody, because I never forget where you are, I was there. I'll never forget that. And because of that, I'm able to teach on that level and show the gospel of Christ to any individual. Because I don't think I'm better than anyone. And I remember when I was in those same shoes. So I can speak to a deacon who went to church on Sunday and was a deacon on Sunday because I was there. I can speak to a pastor. I can speak to someone who once did devotion on Sunday because once I was there. All this stuff because I'm Israel. Now this gives me the authority to do whatever I want to do against those who don't have my truth. Is utterly ridiculous. And Christ isn't going to have it. And that's why I'm just putting this out there with that stuff that happened over there aside. The mindset we must have if we really want to save our people. The greatest gift above all is charity, humility. And all that going in front of other people's building and disrupt, that's straight disrespect. Disrespect. And guess what? Hopefully people will learn the wisdom of actually teaching the word of the Almighty. Right? With that,
yes, sir.
All right, what I'll do, any of y'all want to say anything else? I really appreciate y'all coming on tonight. It's been a great broadcast. I'm going to do a small Patreon Friday. But I'm going to do a small Patreon Friday. If someone would like to come in, if anyone have a word to say, Rawchaa or Elder Rawchaa, you have an opportunity to do so. I'm going to bring a few people in. And I thank you all for being a part of this. Hold the line. Do what's right. The kingdom will soon be here. And do what we can as individuals to make the changes we need to make in this strange satanic world, right? Thank you, Dawn. All praises be to the Most High. I like bringing my brothers up in here, warriors in the faith of the Almighty. Yeah.
Praises.
I thought Baruch was coming in, Bishop Baruch. He actually won. We will be setting up in Colorado. Once I get back from the UK, we're going to make our way towards setting something up in Colorado. Don't worry about it. I got you. Right? All praises be to the Almighty. And to teach the word of the Almighty is a skill. And guess what? Hey, you can be doing all the things right and still the world will come up against you. Look what happened to Paul.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, but all in all, you know, it's already a dangerous task teaching the word of the Almighty. So it's best not to bring unwarranted danger on ourselves. Right? At least do things with wisdom, you know, to mitigate some of the to mitigate some of the threats that could actually happen while doing the work. Right?
Right. And I wanted to say this, you know, traveling outside of your comfort zone, outside of what you're used to teach the word of the Most High is to be commended. Again, we've done it. We're not strangers to it. We've taught in the UK. We've taught in various places of the earth. But I think that going outside of someone's function, anywhere in the earth, I don't care where it is, if you do that anywhere in the earth, it's going to be a conflict. It's going to be an issue. So
yeah,
I think that's something that's to be learned.
Yeah.
Don't go outside people's services while they're teaching and thinking that they're going to see it as if you're coming from the America, which is your viewpoint. You're thinking, I'm coming from the States to give the people the truth. And you're thinking, you know, hey, it's the work of the Most High. But they don't see it that way.
Yeah.
The bond they have with that Cesare or that Cesare Borgia, and even the bond that they have with Christianity and Catholicism, it's different.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of bond on them. So when you come against that, it's they see you as Satan.
And so you have to realize they're religious zealots. They will live and die with what they believe. It's not like these believers here in the United States.
Right.
They have conviction with the mess they're dealing with. Okay, they go jihadi on you on the Christian side.
Right.
Right. So you got to be careful. All right. Let me put this in here real quick. Hey, Kayem, I should have seen you there if you'd like to come back. Straight up, man. Hey, America have spoiled people. You think you can operate like you operate in America and other countries? You'll be blessed to escape with your life. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yes, indeed.
For those who would like to come in, and how many times I have to tell these young guys, I tell you, when we was overseas now, I'm like, brothers, y'all can't, people be operating and as if they're from that country. I'm like, listen, they come looking at TV, you see Jake, one of the cats I know, in a soccer parade. I'm like, what? On the news, can't speak a lick of Arabic. I'm like, man, they're gonna string this cat up. I'm looking on TV. I'm like, is that? And he's like, yeah, that's him. I'm like, Israel, boy, our people. But yeah, you got to be wise as serpents, harmless as a dove. It's different in a lot of these countries. I'm gonna tell you.
It's always some people who you taught, and instead of them, you know, just getting nurtured under you, they feel like, don't worry, that's my friend, I got it. But then we always have to save them out of these situations.
Every situation, I'm looking for bail money. I'm looking for money, flight money, some type of money, because young people don't want to listen.
Right.
Like, Lord.
I mean, I could have lost my life so many years out there just for the same thing we talking about. And the thing is, I tell them, you got to be low key, go to and fro, do what you need to do, be a peacemaker. And this is the thing that was crazy. I'm not really out there like that. That's behind the scenes work to where how am I able to save you? Because I'm in league with all the elders and the Arabs and the Bedouins in the community to save these people.
Yeah.
And it was no thing where I had to be out there doing what they're doing. They think that that's how you get that. And I'm telling them that's not how you get that. You know what I mean? But here it is. I can come out the blue and say, excuse me, sir, can we resolve this situation? I had to have sit downs with the Bedouins in certain areas and say, listen, this is how I want to resolve this. And it would get done like that. No one knew I had that pull because I'm walking upright among the community, you know, and that's just what young men have to realize. Knowledge can puff up, you know.
Yeah. But
right.
A lot of those experiences that you're talking about is going to come in handy. Because believe it or not, they respect people who are walking in the Spirit. And
Yes, sir.
without even knowing you, if you're walking as an upright person, because people are always watching. Okay? Even if they don't say nothing, they're watching. If you walk upright, that respect factor will come in handy down the line. I'm telling you. I'm going to tell you. Kayem, shalom. How you doing, my brother?
Shalom, Elder. Double honors to the leadership, Elder. It's just this church here is just, you know, from from the heavens. We thank the Most High, Ahayba Shemishai will walk a dots for the watchmen. And Elder, it's like just the what you just touched on, that go baptize all nations, and it's the true doctrine of and the true will of the Most High. And I remember my life being saved by Esau brother. My lung collapsed, and I was on the table, and he had me sign a paper, and I signed the paper, but I passed out, Elder. It was very peaceful, and I blacked out. But he saved my life in that emergency room. So if this church was like not teaching the true doctrine, I wouldn't be here. And I'm so thankful that this church is teaching the true doctrine, because we're able to go out there and talk to many people and to actually to learn from the leadership, and to be able to show what we're learning and actually prove it. So I'm just thankful for this. And it's like just out here seeing how our people are suffering. And that's the one thing, we watching the old videos and seeing how you handle being in other countries. And I remember one time my brother saying he was going to spit and all this, and it's like you handle the things. So I remember one time the Jewish brother was talking, and Elder, he was talking, and he like it came out like, brother, listen, you know what I mean? Can you like watch what you're doing? So I mean, it's just like the humility that we're seeing. Like we can just take that and put a place upon us, and it'll save our life and preserve us, so we can do the work and do the will. And I'm so thankful for this church, and it's been a blessing. And even the Passover, Elder, it's like I needed that a picker up, because coming in and talking to people, it's like the Passover is like it's for Christ, and it's like it's the love going there. So a brother said, you don't know how much you helped me out during the week, and I needed to hear that, because I was feeling down. And it's like we just this church just pick each other up.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful, Elder. Oh man, it's just so much, and I just thank you guys so much for y'all work. Double honor to you guys.
Thank you, my brother. And I'm gonna tell you, man, that Passover, it did so much for me too, man. To see the children of God, the children of Israel all together, Israel, Gentiles, it's everyone praising the Almighty. And it's only going to get better, man. If it be the Most High's will, we'll have a place of our own to bring everybody together, and don't have to worry about, the high expense if the church can have our own. So all around the world, we'll be able to come together in a warm climate and do Passover. That's what I'm praying for. And I think that it will soon become a reality too. Right. So.
Yes, sir. And real quick, Elder, that war of the gods, oh my, I can't wait till, because I'm sitting there like, I'm thinking like all the movies we watch, as far as the gods of Egypt and all this, I know this lesson is gonna be mind-boggling. I'm gonna have my popcorn. I'm gonna have my tea. I'm gonna I might even have some lamb, and I just think that lesson is gonna be like, family. Make sure you guys are there for that war of God. This is the first time, right, Elder?
Yeah, we're going to be teaching the war of the gods, and really what they're doing right now, they dropping a lot of information. They're dribbling it out right now. That's why they're introducing to the masses information about what's under the pyramids. And they've been saying for years there's no technology humans have, and technology up until this time, that could have built the pyramids. I mean, you can't even put a sheet of paper in between one brick. It's just solid, as if they were welded together. And then Solomon's temple. What we're going to go into this week. It was spirits that were utilized to build the temple. The same as the pyramids. Man can't build those constructs. And a lot of that mystery have been in the earth, but people can't distinguish from, well, was it the lower gods who fell, or was it the angels who came down to build certain constructs? Well, I'll be talking about that this coming Sunday while we break down the Testament of Solomon. Because mankind cannot build a construct, right? Spirits were controlled to move those rocks that built the temple. And I'm going to be going into that. And guess what? The Freemasons now pay homage to those spirits, because those spirits have taught the so-called Freemasons to build their constructs or temples to control some of those same spirits to set up cities throughout the earth. So it transcends from Solomon, but they needed, the world powers wanted Solomon to fall so that they can use that same construct or ideas on how to build constructs that spirits can enter into to deal with the headmaster. So it goes all the way back to Solomon's temple. Wait till you hear this when we go into the Testament of Solomon, the Apocalypse of Paul, as well as the true understanding of hell, this coming Sunday. At the very end of the War of the Gods, the Judgment of the Gods is what we're going into week 12, where Christ crushes the gods.
Praise him. Yes, sir.
Week 12, Christ, there will be two wars. There will be the realm war on the way here, and after all the gods that control the nations are destroyed, then the world military is destroyed, and Christ will personally deal with Rome. So first he must do what? He must destroy the strong man first. Well, that's the gods, including Satan, that's over the gods of this world. He will be bound, and at that point, Esau and all the nations have no more power. So Christ must destroy the gods of the Gentiles first. Then he's going to appear and destroy, starting at Rome. The War of the Gods, week 12. It's coming, young man.
Yes, sir. Blotter, sir.
Blessings. I'll tell
yes,
you, ain't nothing like that academy, man. And I know Shapat, he have to go through some murky waters to figure out what's going on with Sodom Watch this Sunday. What will you be bringing out this Sunday, Shapat, if you will?
You'll have to wait and see.
Hey, man, listen.
You gotta be in it to win it.
You gotta go deep down to get some of that news. But hey,
I'm gonna say it like it is.
I'm gonna tell you. Hey, I let Terrence Howard tell you how it is about your man, about the manhood.
I got the video lined up.
When someone
ready to go.
When someone take your man card, and can't nobody say it like that. When you in Philly, that's a Philly guy, man. You know, he's Manioc, but he's Philly. Let me show you what Terrence Howard told you about that man card. Right?
A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up...
Hold up, here it is. You gotta be from Philly to break. Look, my man looking at him like, where's he going with this? Yeah. Welcome to North Philadelphia. You know what I mean? There it is.
A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying?
Hold up, we're gonna hold that till Sunday, Shapat. When you give up that man card. No, check out his response though.
A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying.
Tell me that ain't Philadelphia. He told me, he said, are you saying what I think you're saying? No, I'm saying what I'm saying.
Oh my goodness.
He said that man card. But you know what? He's right. That's why we got to protect our children. They know the next generation of men and women coming out of Israel are kingdom children. A lot of people who don't really care about this trans stuff and all this, why are they keeping this, at the top of all discussions right now when people really don't care about it? You have to understand what social weapons are. And no matter what they put out there, how it more so affects the poor of any society. So, hey, you got to protect your man card.
Yes, sir.
All right, Shapat, get that news together this Sunday. Rawchaa, thank you, my brother, for coming through. Elder Rawchaa in the house. We even had Kayem chime in. Elder Lawya. Let's get ready, young man. We got a lot of work to finish. The battle isn't pending. That's right, brothers and sisters. We are the children of Israel. And yes, we're back. Have a good night. Do your part to win the race. All praise be to the Almighty. Have a good night.
Y'all.
Good night. See you this Friday.
In Colombia, Ruben from Australia, Issachar, the Mexicans. That's who we be Judah, the Negroes, Benjamin, the West Indians, Levi, the Haitians, Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, and Valley from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Zebulon from Panama, Gad, the North American Indians, Simeon, the Dominicans. Our highest gathering.